We're doing some plow day prep today at Pull Start Stables. We have a handful of tractors that need to be GAT ready. First on the docket is Mrs. Pull Start's Right Away Senior. And we've never plowed with it before. We've plowed with Jackie, the lever steer, and I do believe I'll be able to use some of the geometry off of this tractor to set the hitch up on this one. I'm gonna get some fuel put in this thing, get it in the shop, and get to work. This tractor has not run since we put it away last year. Let's see how hard it is to fire up. We're gonna run this around the barn. I'll see you in the shop. So as you can see, this thing runs great. There's a couple things that I want to take care of. One's going to be an oil change in the engine. I'm going to just verify the rear end and the transmission lube levels. These take 600 weight oil, which is pretty dang thick. So I just choose to top them off with straight Lucas oil treatment, and that's as thick as I can find, and it seems to do the job. I want to do a full grease job in all the steering and axle in the front end, which it shouldn't really need because I just recently, the last time we had this out, went through the front wheel bearings and replaced those and repacked them and greased everything. So I'll just lift the frame up a little bit and pump a few squeezes and everything, and it'll be good to go. I'm going to have to move the plow mount from a rear hitch drawbar up to the front of this transmission case. It's already set to go, I just need to move it and then figure out my geometry based on the lever steer. Additionally, one more important thing, this is an oil bath air cleaner. So air comes inside and drops down and then has to turn an abrupt 90-degree corner where there's oil just laying in the bottom of this housing. So any debris just hits that oil, gets stuck, and then it turns up and then goes down the tube to the engine. I actually like these oil bath air cleaners better than filter elements, just because of all the directions that the air has to change, and the fact that we're not running a ton of RPMs, we're not sucking a huge amount of air. So the way these things just chug along, all the debris gets caught in that oil and nothing goes into the engine. Apparently some He-Man tightened these plugs last time the oil was changed. And I'm pretty sure I'm the only person that's touched it, so I guess I don't know my own strength. There, that worked. Nice 8-point socket. Get a hold of square plugs. Now, I do believe there are less than 100 of these left in existence that are known or recorded. There were only 500 of them built. My lever steer, there were 50 built. And I work it. I think, in my opinion, it's kind of pointless to just own something like this and let it sit. So, I maintain it well, and we drive them kind of hard. We're not going to beat on them, but we're going to work them the way they were designed to be worked. I think that would do Elmer and Cecil Pond. That would make their heart pretty happy to see these old tractors still running, still earning their keep. Now while that oil keeps draining, let's just go ahead and check this bad boy out. So there is a little bit of an element that the air does go through to catch any real big debris. But this is where the magic really happens. It's just a basin of oil that I'm going to try to take off without making a mess. We're going to dump that out. It's actually still pretty clean, but we're going to dump it out anyway. We're going to fill it with, we'll say 10W30 or whatever oil I got laying around, and we'll make sure it's clean before we refill it. Put this back together. It's good to go for another 50 hours. I will say that these can be cleaned with like gasoline flowing or clean mineral spirits, but as clean as the oil was that was down in the basin, I know that not too much debris is in here, so I'm gonna just service the oil that was inside that pan and call it good. Now I found some of this non-detergent 30 weight oil, and generally speaking, we're going to want to run detergent oil inside an engine. So since this doesn't really have to do anything but catch debris, we're going to top it off with that. Now my oil level is going to be at the top of the, I guess I'll show you right here, the top of that line. If you put too much oil in, it'll get sucked up into the engine and smoke like crazy. We don't want that to happen. Put that back like so. I actually think I have too much oil in there. Okay, we are to the top of that line in the back. We have plenty of oil in there. It is okay to assemble. Now I'm actually going to run a 15W40 in this engine here. I believe it takes 2 quarts, but basically you just fill it until it's to the bottom of the fill hole. We are full. Go ahead and snug that up and clean up our mess. This is our fill plug for the transmission. It's going to be the same thing. We're just going to check the oil. If it's up to here, we'll be good to go. We're just a little low. I'll add a tiny bit of that Lucas to it. I can see the level, I can see the gears, everything looks clean in there. The oil looks pretty good. I might be losing a little bit of oil this way, but I have found, just based on the size of the hole in the side of that gear reduction case, that a 80-90 gear lube jug cut at a very severe angle kind of just fits in there and helps to top that off. The fill plugs on these big gear reduction portals is like way down here. So I know that these don't have to be completely filled up. I also feel like in this case, more oil is not a bad thing. So I'm just gonna go ahead, take my Lucas here and fill this entire quart jug and let it drain through and call that good enough. So because I cannot stick this air hose through a cut little funnel, I'm going to just pick it up and just shove this little strip in the hole just to allow a little bit of air to sneak right past my fill jug. Now this tab that is welded up front here has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holes in it. This tab has just the one hole in it. They are drilled on an arc so that the center line between all of these bolt holes is the same. This allows, depending on what the furrow depth is, it allows for the plow to remain perpendicular to the ground. This here is the plow mount. I have created a little bit of a drawbar system that I'm going to need to unbolt. We need this area for the plow to swing up and down. So I'm going to go ahead and take this out and get it transferred over there loosely. So I've got my plow mount here moved up. I have it on the front of these tabs because that way the tractor will push it and I won't have to rely on the bolt strength to hold it in place. I took a reference of the plow mount on the lever steer and I'm at 3.25 degrees and here I'm 8.15. So I don't know if the plow is going to lay down too far. I really don't want to drill another hole in the senior. I don't really want to drill another hole in that mount. Being original, that's something that I'd rather not do. If I have to make an adapter plate, I guess I will, or make a different plow mount, I would do that as well because the 3.25 degrees worked awesome. I guess what I'm gonna have to do is crank this down and just give it a shot. So all that's left to do on this thing is to pump a little bit of grease in all the mobile spots, and I'm sure I'll miss some. Oh boy, I'm gonna have to get to that when I'm done and let it down. But we're gonna grease it all in zero gravity. There's no weight on anything that's greasable. I'm gonna wipe up the excess so I don't make a mess. And we'll see you on the plowing field. I really appreciate you watching. Have yourself a nice day.